Hello and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. The Local Leaders Podcast provides a platform for successful business owners to share their stories, their experiences, their advice, and their ideas in order to help our listeners achieve more success in their business and in their lives. Get ready, another great show is coming up. Hey, good afternoon and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson, and I am super excited today to have our new friend, Matt Habib, with us today from the Red Poppy Bistro. Matt has got a truly, I don't know if it's unique, but it's an interesting story about his business and businesses and kind of how he got to where he was. And first off, welcome, Matthew. Matt, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. We appreciate you being on and bringing your expertise and knowledge and experience and sharing it with our audience. And I think I'll just start by having you asking you about your story. If you want to take us back to the beginning and kind of how you got started, because I found it super interesting. And I think our listeners will really appreciate all that you've kind of went through over the years.
Sure. So, like we were talking about before, I did start at the building blocks of my career did start as a caterer, and then it just naturally progressed to a food truck. And then from the food truck, we used to have a business called Legit Dogs and Ice, which was a gourmet hot dog food truck with a punk rock feel, punk rock skater feel. And from there, we kind of developed this cult following, and I would say probably within about 8 months of having our food truck up and running, I used to get questions all the time. Where's your restaurant? Where's the restaurant? Well, I don't have a restaurant, so I guess we better get a restaurant now. So we worked on getting a restaurant, which we then opened up. Not only was it a restaurant, but it was also a punk rock venue and a comedy club venue. I've never run a venue or thrown any type of show like that, a concert like that. But we were actually able to get headliners, national headliners in there. We were actually able to get some pretty big names for the comedy show. So we had a restaurant / venue. And basically what happened was, long story short, we ran into, let us say, a disagreement with our landlord in the way that our business wasn't allowed to flourish in the building the way it should, to the point where we could not even have a sign for our business. And we were in the basement of this building that nobody even realized, oh my God, there's a restaurant down there. So we actually were forced to close it down. But in a weird roundabout way, that led us to partner with one of our friends, who is he has a lot of real estate in Elgin, in the city that we live in. So we are actually in the waiting process right now to reopen Legit Dogs and Ice. However, for the 2-3 year time span, our window to reopen that business, unfortunately, has been slowed down by COVID. So we actually took this time in the middle of COVID to open the Red Poppy Bistro. And the Red Poppy Bistro actually has a history that it used to be open in Chicago. And it was my wife's mother's Polish delicatessen. So she has taught us all the recipes. And now we have the Red Poppy Bistro open. And our grand opening for the Red Poppy Bistro was literally the day of the Illinois governor shutting down Illinois due to COVID. So our grand opening lasted 2 hours and we were shut down. And then once the weather kind of turned nicer, we were able to have seating outside. Once again, built a following around this Polish German, bistro. And we were able to have outdoor seating for the summer. But once we finally hit Thanksgiving time, things start to slow down because of the holidays. Things are getting slower. We can no longer have the outdoor seating. We decided that we didn't want to sit around. So we used that time to actually expand our restaurant. So we went from a 250 square foot floor plan to a whopping 1,000 square foot floor plan. So now we actually do have some actual seating on the inside, as well as a little bit of a bigger kitchen. But I think the important thing there is not only did we not want to sit around during COVID, we wanted to continue pushing forward because we believed that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But we were also able to, our employees were very loyal, and chefs who came on, hostesses that came on, suddenly became plumbers and electricians and painters, and they were putting in flooring. And that's what we did. So instead of going out and hiring contractors, we all pulled together and did the work ourselves with permits, I might add, properly with permits. And we went ahead and we did everything. And I think that we made a really beautiful place. And we were kind of able to, turn lemons into lemonade. So here we are now. Yeah, now we're cooking. We are cooking. We're
literally.
Yeah, quite literally.
Well, I tell you, when we first talked and you shared that story, it was crazy to me, all the different kind of pieces and parts that were there. I guess a lot of it's normal because many restaurateurs and chefs and get started on the catering side, and as you said, I think dip the toe in to see how it goes, and then you move forward.
Right.
But man, did you run into some challenges? And I think you probably hold the world's record for the world's shortest grand opening. You need to check that. Guinness. Yeah, you need to check with Guinness after this thing and see if you can't get a listing. But
right.
2 hours for all our listeners who may have missed that. Grand opening started, and then 2 hours later, the governor comes on TV and shuts everything down. So
yeah, it was almost this is how short it was. So literally on our grand opening, we had the health inspector there. Okay, so and believe me, saying 2 hours, that's generous. So we had the health inspector there, and basically that was the start of COVID. Nobody really knew what to expect. Mm-hmm. So the health inspector signed off on the paperwork. We sat there and had a conversation about what we thought the future held. With what COVID was going to look like, what was going to happen. And within that conversation is when the governor made the announcement. So the health inspector was standing right in front of me and got the text to his phone and was like, "Ooh, I know I just signed off on your paperwork, but you're not going to like this. Guess what?" I was like, "What? What's going on?" "Oh yeah, you're shut down." So the health inspector didn't even have a chance to leave our restaurant yet.
Oh my gosh!
So
I guess you didn't even get to serve a customer, did you?
No. But ironically enough, we did have a giveaway where we were giving away free toilet paper to any customers if they needed it. So yeah, interesting times to say the least.
Oh my gosh! And look at you now, rocking and rolling. Got a bigger building, and I love the fact that you guys utilized your staff. Way to go and find a use for those. I don't know if you got the PPP funding or any of that for too new.
Yeah, too new.
You're too new to collect. But wow, that's a homemade recipe for success right there, with everybody coming together and pulling off the space. And you said it's just 1,000 square feet, but that was 4 times bigger than what you had.
Right. So, and well, that's even with when it was just the 250 square feet, that to me was still a kingdom, because I was like, well, it's triple the size of the food truck. I mean, this is, wow, I can actually put my arms out. We're great. Everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. I'm like, oh, it's a ton of room. How are we going to fit? Yeah, how are we going to fit all this stuff? I'm like, oh, just you have to look at it 3-dimensionally. Just put shelves all the way up to the ceiling. Don't worry, we can reach up. We'll get it.
Yeah, we'll get it. Get some anti-slip ladders in here.
Right,
we'll be good to go. Well, that's an awesome story, and And one of the things that I wanted to touch on, I thought would be really relevant to our audience, that we talked about was, trying to provide some advice, some guidance, some tips maybe to people who haven't opened up a space yet, as they're looking at their first project or their first location. And you kind of had some bad experiences in terms of leasing a building to begin with. So can you share with us, maybe some advice or some tips of what to do and what not to do?
Well, I can tell you this, that if this is the first time that you are looking for a space for a restaurant, okay, what I'm about to say is actually pretty cliched, but I cannot reemphasize it enough. You need to take the emotion out of it, okay? And you need to find the space that is right for your concept, okay? Sometimes you'll find a space that you think is perfect. Maybe it's turnkey, maybe you can get the landlord to do what you need to do as far as like maybe putting a grease trap in or electrical or you name it. And somehow along the line, the deal just falls short, okay? The first thing I can say to that is don't get desperate. I promise you, there's 1,000 more fish in the sea, okay? You can absolutely find another spot. You just take your emotion out of it, let that place go. If it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit. When you do finally find the right fit, okay, and you're able to talk to the landlord, or let's say, they typically have like a building manager or somebody that you'll go through depending on how many pieces of real estate they own, okay. You need to get a lawyer. You need to absolutely have a lawyer look over your contract/lease. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people will avoid getting that lawyer because lawyers are expensive. So what I would say is what you want to do is you want to negotiate what you need, whether it be rent, whether it's going to be pass through, who is responsible for garbage? Is there a grease trap? Is there any type of construction that needs to be implemented into the space? Does it need more electrical? Does it need gas lines? There's a lot of different working parts that need to be figured out. Who's paying for that expansion? If you as the renter are paying for that expansion, then that gives you a bargaining chip to ask for a lower rent. If the landlord is willing to go ahead and put that work in, then that gives the landlord the bargaining chip to go ahead and charge you more rent. However, it's nice on the front end not having to drop tens of thousands of dollars, which sometimes these if not more, that these projects can definitely cost. Okay, now all of this is done back and forth through email conversations, what have you, and you will eventually get to a point where you are asked to sign an LOI, better known as a letter of intent. This letter of intent is exactly what it says, right? You're going to sign this letter. It's going to have the basic negotiations that you guys have talked about, that you guys have kind of settled on, right? Once that letter of intent is signed upon, it's not binding. Okay, well, you better make sure it says that it's not binding. Yeah, okay, so it's not binding, and then they'll go ahead and start, working out the lease and everything. Then they'll shoot you over the copy of the lease. That is when I recommend going to a lawyer and saying, "Hey, sir, ma'am, please look over this lease and tell me, do you see any landmines, which I'm about to walk into?" And something I really want to emphasize here, okay? Again, I know it sounds cliche, right? But having that lawyer look at it, okay? These lawyers look at 100 of these leases a month, okay? Yes, I'm exaggerating that number, but you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But I can guarantee you this: that landlord is used to renting out to people, okay? This is not his or her first rodeo. They know how to hedge the odds in their favor. They know how to put specific wording in there that if something goes horribly wrong, that they're going to be protected. Okay. One of the biggest things are in that lease is, are you going to sign a personal guarantee? Okay. And just to touch on this topic really quick, for those of you who don't know what a personal guarantee is, a personal guarantee is, again, exactly what it sounds like. People will go out, get corporations, LLCs, and the understanding that this protects them personally in case their business ever goes under or they have to file for bankruptcy. But if you sign that personal guarantee, that means that that gives the landlord permission to come after you personally if for whatever reason you have to break that lease. Now, I know nobody ever wants to, go off of the assumption that, failure is an option. Okay.
Right.
But real life happens sometimes. So if there is a personal guarantee in that lease, then they are going to be able to garnish your wages, put a lien on your house, put a lien on your car, what have you. Okay. So once again, this is why you want to have a lawyer look all over this. You need to have some type of advocate on your side to make sure you are protected as well as possible. And that is, to have a lawyer look at a lease, it's a couple $100, but it can save you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees or headaches, or you name it. And then not only that, but it also gives you that ammo that if for whatever reason, let's just hope that, whatever landlord that you have, wants to work with you, wants to, make sure that everything is right. But typically, in my experience, a lot of landlords don't really care. I mean, they're not there to sell your product. All they care about is their rent at the end of the day. So you need to protect yourself as well as humanly possible, because God knows they're protecting themselves. And then it just keeps everybody honest. It keeps everybody honest and equal on both sides.
Well, I think that is awesome advice. And I made several notes while you were speaking. And, I think that'd be a great piece of advice for anybody starting a business and looking at leases or any kind of contractual documents. We all, especially as small business owners, we don't want to spend that $500, to that attorney or whatever. And it's like, I'll just read through this. As you start reading the first page, you might actually consume. After that, it's just,
right.
All that legalese becomes overwhelming. You still think you know what you're doing. You sign the document, and then you find yourself without a sign in front of your business while the business is hidden in the basement.
Exactly. You're flooding. Well, some of the things that we've experienced is, we were constantly flooding because we were in the basement. The building was not up to code. The wall and door to protect our restaurant that was supposed to go in before we moved in was never completed, thus giving complete strangers and whomever access to our restaurant, which they were robbing on a daily basis. Because, hey, there's a register and a safe just sitting there. No sign, we could just go on and on, only to then, ironically enough, find out that our lease wasn't even valid. It was signed fraudulently under a corporation which didn't even exist.
Oh my gosh.
So we couldn't even, so the irony was, here I was afraid that, we could possibly get sued, to the point where I said, wow, we are really in the right here. How does this landlord think he's going to get away with this? Only to find out that we had no contract or legal grounds to even go after the landlord, because basically we had signed a phony document. So to even go to through the court system, our first hurdle would to be just to prove we were even existed at this building.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
Yeah, they could have claimed that there was no agreement ever made. Yeah. You were just borrowing the space on your own, right?
Yeah, legit dogs and who? What? Yeah. Who are they? Yeah,
never heard of you.
Right, I don't even know why they're in our basement. Yeah, there's been some guy in the basement and he had hot dogs. I don't know who this guy is, but yeah. So yeah, believe me, that I like to say the door swings both ways, but man, it's a revolving door of just get off at any exit to any venue of Crazy Town, and honestly, the sad thing is we have a good lawyer, and just like going to the doctor, I don't like going to the doctor either, right? I never had him read the contract. I didn't have him read the contract, so I really just did this to myself. And
Mhm.
yeah, he was just like, "What are you doing?" So when the other foot finally came down, he was just like, "Yeah, it's 2 years too late. Let's figure out what we're gonna do at this point." So
Wow.
yeah,
What a
so
story. What a story.
yeah, I'm telling you guys, yeah, get that lawyer. Just spend a couple $100. Just do it. It'll save you a lifetime of grief and angst.
Yeah. So with I mean that's an awesome story, and thank you for sharing your challenges as far as that goes.
That's a
And
nice way of saying it.
yeah, that was challenge, obstacles, that was all kinds of nasty stuff. But so what are you running into today now that you've got your bigger space, you're doing your day-to-day business. COVID is not behind us by far, but it's
No.
we're in a much better position than we were if things don't take a turn. Are there any big challenges right now that you're facing that you're dealing with?
Well, so there's always going to be challenges, right? So
Yes,
I guess it's just, it's in the eye of the beholder. I can tell you something that as long as anybody who runs a restaurant or any business for that matter, you have to understand there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be catastrophes. Like I said, even today, we're going into another 85, 95 degree weather, week. And we just found out that our building is getting the roof redone. Thus, our air conditioner is going to be turned off, disconnected for 4 days. So the question is, do we remain open? And, we just let everybody sweat it out and make a bad impression on customers? Or do we shut it down and then break that consistency and have customers come out and, we're not open, and then they're angry we're not open. It's, typically these situations give you a no-win situation. The best you can do is damage control. But I can tell you this, that one of the most important things that I've learned in doing all of this is that, one, you need to recognize that there's always going to be challenges, right? Once again, it's cliched to say,
Yep.
but I don't think you really realize it until you basically wake up every morning to, what fresh new hell am I going to see today, right? That it almost overshadows your achievements and accomplishments because you're constantly putting out fires. But one of the biggest things that I have learned in this time is to learn to say no. Okay. And there are a lot of different levels in saying no. Okay. You will find that when you open a new restaurant, that there are people that come out of the woodwork who want something from you. Okay. And they may be customers, they may be paying customers, or they may be charities or groups looking for donations. Okay. We are in the hospitality business. We never want to let anybody down. Right. So we typically have this problem of saying no, especially starting out, because you don't want to make people angry. You don't want them to be disappointed in you. You're trying to build this reputation that you're dependable, you're good. This is a good way to get our brand out, to get our food out. Okay. So the first thing I say is learn to say no. You do not want to overextend. Okay. You do not want to give, it is, I don't want to seem callous when I say this, but you cannot give too much away. You cannot give too much away to all of the charities, all of the school functions, all of the city functions. Everybody wants something for free. Okay. And you need to focus. I'm not saying don't do it. What I'm saying is you need to focus on the things that actually matter to you, things that are in your demographic. Okay. Otherwise, it's costing you time, it's costing you money. Okay, it's costing you products, it's costing you money, it's costing you labor, it's costing you utilities. But more importantly, it's costing you time. Time becomes the most valuable currency that you have. When people say there are not enough hours in the day, they are not kidding. And what happens is if you start to overextend, you start saying yes to everything, okay, then you cannot cut corners. something is going to suffer. Okay. Whether that means that you are exhausted and, maybe you're just not as passionate about cooking for that day. So therefore the recipes don't come out that good, or as good as they should. Or you're exhausted and you're pushing your staff and they don't have enough time to prep the food that you need, or you're giving away product that your restaurant needs. And now you're scrambling at the last minute because that's the day that, a bus of customers decided to pull up. Right. And, unfortunately, all your product is out there. Okay. So there is definitely that. The other flip side of that coin is I hate saying no to customers that are trying to get us to do gigs. Okay. I had a customer that they wanted to rent out basically our restaurant for 100 customers. And that's great, right? Because, you do the math depending on what the budget would have been per customer. 100 customers, beautiful. They also wanted to rent out that restaurant or our restaurant on Sunday. And Sunday being our busiest day, it's impossible, right? And there's that part of you that doesn't ever want to say no to a paying customer because it looks like, oh, I'm leaving money on the table. But you have to think about the repercussions of, yeah, sure, you can fill that customer's needs, right, for that Sunday, and then we can shut the business down and we're guaranteed that money. But now you have your regular Sunday customers on your busy, it's Sunday. Everybody's going out to brunch, right? To a breakfast place. Now they're going to be angry because they came out specifically for you and they can't get in. Now they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to go to one of your competitors. Okay. You have to stay focused and again, just not overextend. So obviously, I wish there was, some formula, some magic bullet that I could say like, oh, this is how you do it. But, every business is unique. And the best I can say is you just have to remember to say no and to not overextend. Plus, not to mention, and I can't emphasize this enough, you don't want to stress out your employees either. Yeah, they're there to work. But I mean, all of a sudden, if you double or triple their load, to be going off on these shenanigans because you've overextended, then, once again, you're going to face those repercussions down the road. I mean, human beings get tired.
Yes, we do. And the older we get, the quicker that happens. I'm gonna tell you.
Amen.
I think I got a couple years on you, so I'm well experienced there. But those are great tips, great pieces of advice. I noted time is currency, and sometimes you do have to say no and turn away business, which is so difficult to do. Right. And most business owners learn that the hard way. They don't say no, especially when it comes to taking on certain business. And what you find is, or what I found typically in my business is that those customers that I knew were on the margins of, and business that I took on that I knew was probably not the best thing to do, turned out to be the hardest work, and I made the least amount of money on. Right. And the stress was higher and the demands were stronger. And it's like, look, you're like, I'm making $10 on you.
Right.
Yeah. And you're killing me.
Yeah. And the other thing kind of, and again, I hate to say the word, let's call it donations. Okay. When you donate it to somebody, I don't want to use the word charity. Okay. But so when you donate that food, you're working under this impression that this is going to be great marketing for you, right? You're going to get your stuff out there and there's going to be all these people at this event. But I can guarantee you that the majority of the time is this, that the individuals who are asking businesses like us to donate that food, I guarantee you, they ask like 20 other restaurants. Okay. Unless they specifically come to you and be like, you are our only choice. You are going to be the one and only sponsor, right? I cannot tell you how many times that I have sat there and I have spent all this time cooking off in the corner to maybe make something unique specifically for this event, right? And I drive it out there, right? And I walk in there and there's like 10 other restaurants, right? Yeah. And then you put your food down and then nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows, that this food came from there. The best that I've ever gotten for it is where they go, oh yeah, I remember it's a long time ago. I was at this place and your food was there. Oh yeah, now that rings a bell. It wasn't like that drove them into the restaurant. They just happened to like stumble in and be like, oh yeah, the light bulb just went off.
Right.
And unless you can actually stay at that event and schmooze and work the room, right? Like I've literally had it happen before where I've donated food to an event, and I've had other business owners or restaurant owners, right, stay at the event, and then they walk around and they take all of the credit. And I had to go back and cook at the restaurant, right? And these guys are taking the credit for my food, right? And they're just, shamelessly promoting themselves. And it's like, I didn't even get a thank you. I mean, nobody even knows I've existed. Why did I do all this work? So if you're going to donate, this is why I say you need to really choose what you do. And if you're going to do it, it has to be, you really have to settle and just resign yourself that this has to be for completely altruistic reasoning, because I'm probably not going to get anything for my business, in return. Yeah. And I'm not saying that there are plenty of events that I've donated to that I'm very proud of, so I have that, it's like chicken soup for your soul a little bit, right? But man, I'm telling you, I was doing when I first opened up, I was doing 1-2 of these events a week. It was just one thing. It was like basically like catering for 6 months for free and for basically nothing in return.
Yeah,
so
it's like getting on those phone call solicitor lists. Once you get on one list, you spread, and then everybody goes, "Hey, let's go to the Red Poppy Bistro."
Right, Matt, those guys will give you anything.
Matt will feed you anything. That's right.
Right, and it's like you have to remember. I mean, we have, as business owners, we have a responsibility to say no sometimes, because it's in the best interest of our employees. Like, we're responsible for employing people, right? We have to make sure that we pull a profit. Unfortunately, that's the way that our system works, right? That's the name of the business model. You actually have to be on the plus side of that profit in order to continue those paychecks. Yeah. So, I don't ever want to sound like, I don't know what the right word is, non-charitable.
Yeah, like you don't care. You're mean. Right, you're the Grinch. You're the.
Yeah, God, I wish I had so much money that I could just sit here and just crank out food for everybody. Yeah. But it's just, it's not feasible. It's just not economically feasible. And I don't want to have to go to my employees someday and be like, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to lose your job because I overextended. So you have to keep it all. Yeah, you have to keep it all in check.
That's some great advice for everybody listening, including myself, because I have a hard time as well saying no and not getting involved in things that don't necessarily generate profit. And as you said, time is so important now that if you give that away, even if it's not costing you anything, but you give your time up as well, right. It's the same as taking money out of the business. So you got to be aware. Hey, let me switch gears on you, and I know I've had you on for a little while now. I don't know exactly what time we started, so I've lost track. But I wanted to ask you about success measurements, for your business, and just get a feel for how you think in terms of measuring your success of your day, of your week, what have you. And a lot of people talk about metrics and profitabilities and net profits and margins and all that. What do you look at to see and kind of tell the state of the business on a regular basis?
Especially in this day and age, look, them rules is out the window. So we can sit here and we can talk about metrics. We can talk about this. I remember, when we were, doing TMAs, when we first opened up the restaurant, target market analysis, right? Mm-hmm. Here's what, here are what the trends are and this and that and blah, 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 blah. It's all out the window, right? None of there's no good barometer other than your own instincts. Okay. You have to be involved in it. You have to be involved in your business, and you need to be involved in social media. You need to be involved in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, if you're hopefully not too old to be called a boomer on TikTok, right? I mean, it is pretty basic for that, barometer of, success is your bank account positive, right? I mean, nowadays we have wonderful POS systems. It's a devil's bargain on that.
Yeah.
But at least our POS systems give us great tools to track. Okay. Like I can literally go onto my POS system and I can just compare last week to this week. Right. And it will tell you, okay, my time cards are run through the POS system. It will tell me, okay, your work staff, okay, has gone up 45% and your sales have gone up 65%. It can be as simple as that. I have a small bistro right now, right? I am not running a conglomerate. So I am there every day. I am talking to the customers. I am engaging with the customers. I am seeing how busy my restaurant is. I am paying attention to the basic spreadsheets on my POS system, right? And I would say that is, the best way. Just stay engaged. Talk to your customers. See what their wants and what their needs are. Okay. I always say that measuring your success, okay, and I'm going to say, I said that I always say, and I don't always say it, my wife says it, so I'm stealing some words of wisdom from her. She's going to see this and be like, you've never said that. I say this. But she goes, she explained it like this to me, and I was like, this is actually a genius analogy. Your business is like a stock. Okay. If you invest into a stock, you're going to have red days and you're going to have green days. Your return of investment is based off of quarterly reports, right? You have 4, quarterly reports per year, and then you can track. That is the best way in the long, for a long term to see what, how it's gone. Has the graph gone up? Has the graph gone down? But she's like, if you stay so focused every single day, oh, you had a bad day, right? Or you had 2 bad days. You may have a bad week. We had a bad week last week. It was like 100 degrees and 99% humidity, right? Nobody wanted to come out and eat giant 3-pound Popeyes. I don't blame them, right? But if I would have focused on that one week, then, it's like having the problem right in your face. You can't see the forest, right, through all the trees. Or does this go?
No, I think you got it right.
Of course. You understand what I'm saying,
yes,
though,
sir.
right? Yeah. So you have to just stay engaged, not stress out every single time that you have a bad day, not get too overconfident when you have a good day or a good week, but really just follow your reports. Look at them weekly, look at them at monthly, and look at them quarterly, right? Again, sounds cliched, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. And I will tell you what the best feeling in the world is when you start to see those regulars. When they walk in through that door and they go, "We're back again," or you go, "Hey, welcome back." There's your success. If it starts coming in where a large majority of your customers, you're saying, "Hey, welcome back," then you're making it. You're doing just fine. But it takes time to build that.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And that is great advice. And thank you to your wife for educating you with that analogy about business being like a stock. I really like that. You got to kind of not look at it every hour as the market's moving and grooving and doing its thing, but take a look at it more on a long-term basis to see where you are. And if you're in the business and involved in the business, I think just to paraphrase Matt, then you're going to know what's going on and kind of how it's going without necessarily even having to refer always to your POS reports. And, some businesses are still running with a cash register and a swipe machine. So, they don't even have the POS to go by. And when I talk to those folks, they tend to say, Hey, I know what's going on. I watch, I see
Right.
if there's food left on plates, I know what's going on. I know if we're over serving or over, just by watching what comes back to the kitchen.
Right.
I talk to people, and they really run run the business from the seat of their pants and their instincts, just by being there, because they don't have that data in front of them. But great talk, Matt. You've been awesome, brother. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts and your advice. Any final words or comments that I neglected to ask you that you'd like to share?
Well, I could talk for hours. So
yeah. Wait a minute. Maybe I opened the wrong door.
Yeah, right. You're opening Pandora's box right now. Yeah. Again, I hate to sound cliched, but if you're already this far, right, you're already thinking about this, you got to have a little bit of faith in yourself, right? Common sense, you will find that common sense will get you a lot farther than you could ever possibly imagine. And it will almost pull back this veil in this business when you use that common sense of how many people around you don't use common sense. And you will really start to see, wow, how do these people just constantly fail upwards? So with that said, believe me, common sense and keeping a cool head on it, just you have to follow those basic 101s. Yeah. Lawyer, listen to your gut, don't overextend. If something doesn't feel right to you, don't be afraid to take a step back. It's your business. You're the leader. Okay. Don't be afraid to be that guy is going to throw that BS flag and go, hold on, I need more time to look at this before we move forward with it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then use your common sense, use your good judgment, and then decide on what direction you're going to use.
Yeah. And if common sense and your good judgment don't give you the answer, then ask your wife.
Right. Exactly. Hopefully. Yeah. You're right.
That is the final thought for all of us married fellas. Always ask the wife.
Because if you don't, believe me, she'll be telling you, I told you so. Yep. For the rest of your life.
You're right. And they usually know best. So it's always good to have that feedback. Well, thank you, Matt, for being on the show today and sharing all that you did, because I think you had some awesome advice and you laid it out there nice and succinct for us and for our listeners to be able to take in. So I'm sure they truly enjoyed it. If you're in the area, if you're in Elgin, Illinois, or anywhere close by, and you have not been to the Red Poppy Bistro, get yourself down there and go see Matt and his team and get you some Polish deli. I mean, if you haven't had it, you got to try it, right?
Right.
But again, thank you for being on today, Matt. I'm gonna shut us off here and wind it down. So I just want to say thank you for your time, our audience and myself. We appreciate you, and I hope to talk to you soon. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and good luck to everyone. Good luck to everyone out there.
And for all our listeners, this is another version of the Local Leaders Podcast, and we hope that you'll check out all the other episodes that we've got, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you very much.